A galactic broadcast, sleek, self-important alien delegates announce to the universe that Earth is officially classified extinct due to centuries of silence. The camera pans over devastated ruins of old Terran relays, mossy satellites, half-buried outposts. Suddenly, a signal pulses from deep space. Not old. Not forgotten. Live. Transmission confirmed. The AI stutters. Then a voice, too calm. Too human. Sorry for the delay. Traffic was hell. Shall we talk? The humans are extinct. Those 4 words, delivered with unwavering confidence by High Speaker Vrol of the Zalari Dominion, echoed across the galaxy. Broadcast in a dozen trade tongues and 84 dialects, the declaration played in every system, from the icy moons of Cygnus Drift to the pollen-choked clouds of Talon. Vrol stood tall at the center of the Unity podium, glassy, sharp, humming with prestige. His translucent skin shimmered under the artificial sunlights, his voice resonating with rehearsed authority. Their silence over 3 centuries confirms what we long suspected. The Terran species has perished, likely by their own instability. Their archives are barren, their colonies overgrown, their satellites adrift. Earth is no more. Polite applause followed. A few species clapped with claws. Others twitched antennae in solemn mimicry. The message was clear. Humanity had finally removed itself from the galactic equation. And then, the signal came. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It didn't interrupt anything, not rudely. It simply appeared. A small ping. Coordinates. A timestamp. A message encoded in a frequency last registered in stellar year 2903, Terran Standard Emergency Channel, Blue Priority. The Galactic Assembly stared at the blinking light on the main feed. Then came the voice. Apologies for the delay. Some of us overslept. The transmission was clean. American accent. Calm, female, and inconveniently polite. I'm Commander Alara Quinn. Terran Strategic Response Division. I believe someone declared us extinct? The feed cut. Half the assembly scrambled for translations. The other half stood frozen, like prey suddenly realizing the forest was breathing. On the 4th moon of Ixel 5, a scavenger crew from the Arcthil Hive cluster was busily gutting a decommissioned Terran relay station when the signal echoed through their bone-linked comms. Mertbleek, a second-grade technician with 6.5 legs, paused mid-hiss. That sounded like a human. His captain, Krisk, dismissed it with a mandible flick. Echo. Broken protocol. Ignore it. But the lights in the relay station, dark for centuries, flickered blue. Then green. Then red. And the relay spoke. Unauthorized entry detected. We regret to inform you that this facility is under quarantine. Suggests rapid egress. Quarantine? Mertbleek chirped, eyes wide. We scan no biohazards. That's because we're the biohazard, said the relay. And then it exploded. Back in the Unity podium, the silence was now clinical. Speaker Vrol leaned forward, narrowing his 6 diamond-pupilled eyes. That voice. It's an imitation. Old AI tech. A prank. Others weren't so sure. The Talari Magisters pulled up archived Terran speech logs. Match, 97.2%. Emotional cadence, 99.9%. Not a simulation. Not old tech. A human. The next day, the TSS Black Veil entered known space. No registration logs matched it. No propulsion readings made sense. It traveled faster than warp without leaving a ripple. It just appeared, like a ghost stepping out of fog. The ship parked itself, politely, outside the Zalari capital's lunar orbit. It didn't broadcast threats. No ultimatums. Just a single message sent to the Assembly's internal secure channel. We'd like a word. Just a little one. You can pick the tea. Inside the Assembly, panic wore many uniforms. Some demanded military intervention. Others voted to ignore it altogether, pretend the signal hadn't happened, cling to the illusion. But Vrol chose to respond. Not because he believed it was safe, because he believed it was beneath him to fear the dead. He authorized a diplomatic shuttle to dock with the Black Veil. No weapons. Just protocol. He would represent the Zalari. Alone. The docking bay of the Black Veil was stark. No guards. No ornament. Just a floor so clean it reflected the ceiling, and a scent, something warm and bitter. Coffee. Elara Quinn was waiting. Black Earth Authority uniform. No rank insignia. One hand in her coat pocket. The other holding a thermos. Speaker Vrol. Lovely to meet you. Please come in. We've been monitoring your broadcasts. Very dramatic. Vrol stepped onto the platform cautiously. Is this an active vessel? Elara raised a brow. That's like asking if a tiger is awake. It never sleeps. Just waits. Earth was silent. Vrol snapped. We monitored every channel. Oh, we know. We let you. She offered him a chair. It slid forward on its own. We called it the Silence Protocol. We needed to see what the galaxy would do when it thought we were gone. And what did we do? Vrol asked, trying to match her calm. Some mourned. Some mocked. A few began stealing our old tech. A few tried to dissect our legacy. She smiled. It was the kind of smile that sat somewhere between forgiveness and a dare. We took notes. Vrol bristled. This is a bluff. A dying race rattling chains to stay relevant. Elara nodded thoughtfully, sipping her coffee. Maybe. Or maybe we're just stretching. 3 centuries of silence get stiff, you know? What do you want? She leaned forward slightly. Not threatening. Not eager. Just patient. To see how you'll respond now. That's all. Just observe. 3 days later, the Black Veil moved. Not toward any fleet. Not toward any capital. It moved toward a star. A red dwarf, nestled near Zalari outposts. The ship hovered. Scanners reported nothing unusual, until the star began to bend. Not collapse. Not go nova. Bend. A gravitational lens formed unnaturally. It pulsed once, then stopped. Every station in the system went dark for 12 seconds. Lights out. Communications dead. Power offline. When they came back, a message blinked on all screens. Consider this a friendly nudge. We're still warming up. Elara's voice echoed again in the assembly chamber. We're not here to conquer. We're not interested in your borders. We just wanted you to remember something. Predators don't roar when they hunt. They wait. She signed off with a wink and a sip. Oh, and next time you declare someone extinct, maybe knock first. In the week following the Black Veil's return, half the galaxy went quiet. Not in the peaceful sense. More like a deer mid-step, knowing something was watching but unsure from where. The other half, of course, shouted. Emergency summits were held on every major world. The Talari issued an advisory: do not engage Terran vessels. Do not respond to transmissions. Do not provoke. But on the outer edge of Sector B-47, Admiral Keth Thane of the Vork Imperium did exactly that. You let them make fools of us. Keth spat, his twin tongues flicking against his fangs as his command staff squirmed in the war chamber. They embarrassed the assembly. Now every backwater species thinks humans are gods. His second in command, a wiry creature named Dralvek, shifted nervously. They did bend a star, Admiral. That was parlor trickery, Keth hissed. We are the sword of the galaxy. I will not bow to a ghost with coffee. Orders were given. A 12-ship formation was dispatched. Destination Earth. Except they didn't find Earth. Not immediately. The coordinates were right. The solar markers, orbital debris trails, even the drifting shell of Luna's old mining station were there. But the planet itself was cloaked. Like the concept of Earth had been politely folded out of space. No gravity reading, reported Dralvek. Mass distortion suggests presence, but nothing visible. Fire a tracer, Keth barked. A tungsten slug was launched. It traveled for precisely 2.4 seconds. Then it vanished. Not exploded. Not deflected. Just erased. Seconds later, their view screens lit up. Tracer received. Please don't litter. The message faded. A heartbeat later, Earth appeared, like a curtain pulled back. It was greener than records showed. The orbital rings were gone. Cities had grown downward instead of outward, nesting under dense tree canopies. The oceans glowed faintly blue. It was beautiful. It was wrong. Dralvik stepped back. That's not how planets hide. Keth clenched his fists. I want a target lock. On the surface, Alara Quinn was stirring honey into her tea when her comm chimed. 12 ships. Vork's signature. Warlord Thane's flagship among them, reported a soft voice. She sipped. They locked Earth? Attempted. Our firewalls are amused. Good. Let's invite them down. On board the Vork lead vessel, a shuttle request pinged the Admiral's bridge. It was formal. And irritatingly cheerful. Earth's Central Peace Council cordially invites Admiral Keth Thane and party for tea, tour, and tactical discussion. Bring no weapons. There will be snacks. Keth stared. They're mocking us. Yes, Admiral, Dralvik said softly. But I believe they expect you to accept. The shuttle landed in the Sierra Arcology, an enormous glass dome ecosystem nestled into the shadow of the Rockies. There were no military bunkers. No guards. Just birdsong, wind, and the unmistakable smell of baked bread. Alara met them at the base of the landing platform. She wore a soft blue jacket over worn boots. No armor. No sidearm. Just her and a clipboard. Admiral Thane. Welcome to Earth. We made cookies. Peanut butter. Unless you're allergic? He sneered. You think this is a game? She smiled gently. No, Admiral. I think this is hospitality. It's what comes before war. Or after. Depending on how things go. Inside, the delegation was led through a series of halls filled with glass murals, botanical installations, and quiet civilians. Human children ran between fountains. An elderly man was teaching chess to an alien with 4 eyes. Keth glared. You display weakness. Alara didn't look back. We display life. You assumed extinction meant failure. We evolved. Hid the teeth. Grew quieter. She turned to face him fully. You thought we were gone. That was the test. What test? To see if the galaxy would mature without us. In a quiet room overlooking a lake, they sat. Keth remained standing. You dare threaten us with smiles and riddles. You hide your armies and whisper at shadows. Alara placed her cup down. Oh, we have armies. She pulled a file from her coat. Tossed it onto the table. It unfolded into a 3D projection, dozens of Terran dreadnoughts, stealth, cloaked, orbiting systems labeled as observation zones. Each one had been silently parked within light minutes of key political centers. Some had been there for decades. We call them auditors, she said calmly. Just watching. Keth didn't speak. His throat pulsed. We didn't come back for war, she continued. But make no mistake, if war finds us, it'll be shorter than you think. Quieter than you expect. And far more expensive than you can afford. He slammed a fist onto the table. If this is peace, I'd hate to see a war. Alara met his gaze. No, Admiral. You'd never see our war. That night, Dralvik sat alone in the gardens outside their quarters. He hadn't spoken since the meeting. Not until he finally whispered to his data pad. Send recall request to Fleet Command. Do not engage humans. Ever. Back in her office, Alara watched the stars. Behind her, a man stepped out of the shadows, tall, gray at the temples, eyes sharp. Keth will withdraw. She nodded. Eventually. What next? She sipped her tea again, watching a satellite drift lazily past the moon. They'll realize we were never extinct. She smiled faintly. We just stopped explaining ourselves. 3 weeks after the Vork retreat, the Galactic Assembly, shaken and skeptical, proposed the impossible. An Earth embassy. Right in the heart of Solaris Prime. Officially, it was called a temporary diplomatic outpost, but everyone knew what it really was: a containment zone. A way to keep humanity in check, by watching their every move. The Terrans agreed instantly. Elara Quinn, appointed Earth's chief liaison, arrived with a suitcase, 2 drones, and a smile. The embassy was a shimmering cube of obsidian black glass, dropped like a tombstone into the lush green diplomatic quarter. Unlike other embassies, towering structures bristling with antennae and banners, Earth's presence was silent. No flag. No signage. But when the doors opened, the scent of coffee floated out. Inside, everything was polished stone and warm light. Soft couches. Old books. A roaring fireplace. And Elara, seated cross-legged on a carpet with a puzzled Calarxia ambassador, teaching him the rules of Uno. So when you draw 4, you don't just draw 4. You suffer. Emotionally. Ambassador Yux tilted his crystalline head. This game encourages psychological warfare. Exactly. Elara grinned. Now you're getting it. Outside, a crowd had gathered, diplomats, guards, curious bystanders. They weren't sure what they expected. Maybe weapons. Maybe death. Instead, they got music. Earth music. Old jazz spilled out of the embassy's windows. One track looped repeatedly, Louis Armstrong's "A Kiss to Build a Dream On." Confusing. Comforting. Strategic. High above, in the central chamber, the assembly held a closed-door session. "This is not diplomacy," snapped Chancellor Run of the Tivari. "It's a performance." "Agreed," murmured the Jurati delegate. "They're mocking protocol." But Counselor Threx, an ancient species who measured time in epochs, simply blinked. "They're teaching us how to look at them," Threx said. "Not as conquerors. Not as relics. But as something worse." "Worse?" gasped Run. "Apex predators pretending to be neighbors." Elara received her first official visitor 2 days later. Admiral Thane. He wore ceremonial armor this time, gilded and heavy. His expression carved from stone. She met him at the door with a biscuit. "Shortbread?" she offered cheerfully. "I didn't come for games." "Of course not," she said, ushering him in. "You came to ask about the other ships." He paused. "You mean the auditors?" "No," she said, settling into an armchair. "I mean the ones you haven't seen yet." Tea was poured. Silence stretched. Finally, Elara spoke, voice softer than usual. "You thought Earth was extinct because we vanished. But we didn't disappear. We repositioned." "To where?" She gestured to the stars above, visible through the embassy's skylight. "Everywhere we were tolerated. Now we're returning to where we're needed." Admiral Thane narrowed his eyes. "And where exactly is that?" Elara's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Where the galaxy starts to rot." The true purpose of the embassy became clearer each day. One by one, minor diplomats visited. Some curious. Some afraid. Some, like the insected Broxii, simply intrigued by human snacks. Each left changed. Not from threats. Not from force. But from listening. Humans spoke with stories. They told tales of ruined Earth cities rebuilt from nothing. Of spacefarers who colonized black hole edges just to see what would happen. Of kindness as a tactic. Of patience as a weapon. Every sentence carried a blade hidden in velvet. "You wage war like poets," Ambassador Yux once whispered, "and make peace like liars." "That's unfair," Elara said. "We only lie when we're being really polite." Then came the intelligence leak. Footage from a classified source, blurry, distorted, was anonymously broadcast across the assembly feeds. It showed a Terran fleet silently surrounding the planetary homeworld. No warning. No declaration. Just a quiet arrival. Moments later, the planetary Senate overturned centuries of policy and aligned with Earth. The galaxy howled. "This is coercion! This is blackmail! This is brilliant, whispered a young strategist from the Altari Academy. In the quiet corridors of the embassy, Elara found a note slipped under her door. It read, "You're playing a long game. We see the pieces now. Who's your queen?" She turned the note over. Nothing. No signature. No trace. Just a single red chess pawn taped to the back. She placed it gently on the mantel. "Checkmate's still 7 moves out," she murmured to herself. Plenty of time. Later that night, as the embassy lights dimmed, Elara sat in the shadows, watching the stars. Behind her, one of the drones, a sleek, spider-legged orb, descended and chirped softly. "You've been approved." "For what?" she asked. The drone blinked once. Phase 2. Her fingers tightened around her teacup. Outside, the first human shuttle since Earth's return breached orbit around Solaris Prime. Aboard it, engineers, biologists, historians. Not soldiers. Not yet. But close. The first human shuttle landed like a whisper. No anthem. No blaring engines. Just a smooth descent and the subtle hum of precision engineering. The ramp lowered, and out walked scientists, linguists, and architects. No armor. No weapons. Yet somehow, the entire plaza tensed. Their uniforms were white. Crisp. Clean. Almost ceremonial. Their faces? Calm. Friendly. Professional. But in their eyes sat a question none of the alien onlookers could read, and all feared to answer. From a balcony above, Admiral Thane watched silently. "This is how they do it," he muttered. Behind him, Counselor Threx's voice was little more than gravel on glass. "No invasion. Just arrival." Elara met the new arrivals personally. She gave each a hug, a clipboard, and one rule. Smile. Speak softly. And never lie, unless you have to. The team fanned out across the capital. One helped the aquatic Venerii stabilize their hydrogrid. Another quietly corrected a gravitational drift the Tivari had failed to resolve for 2 decades. A botanist asked permission to plant trees near the war memorial. She said it was to filter the trauma from the air. By week's end, every minor species within 5 systems had submitted formal petitions to host Earth. Advisors. "They're winning hearts," Thane said grimly. "With kindness as the knife." But there was one place humans hadn't yet touched. The vaults of Calziron. Buried beneath Solaris Prime, these ancient databanks held records from before the First Council. Their doors had been sealed for a millennium. Not by technology, but by treaty. No species was allowed inside without unanimous assembly approval. Elara requested access. "Just for research," she said. "We'd like to understand your history better." The chamber exploded with debate. Furious Tivari. Outraged Plentari. Cautious Calarxi. But amid the noise, one species said yes. The Altari. They'd always been silent watchers, neutral in every conflict, quiet in every alliance. Now they broke ranks. "Let them see," said Elder Veruin. "Because we need to see what they do with truth." The vote passed. The vault opened. And the trap snapped shut. No one expected what was buried beneath Calziron. Not even the Altari. Human historians moved quickly, reverently, but efficiently. Within 3 days they decrypted half of the forbidden archives. The secrets inside weren't just old, they were incendiary. Galactic war crimes hidden for centuries. Entire genocides erased from record. False peace treaties. Faked famines. Manufactured rebellions. Dozens of species realized the balance of the Council had been rigged from the beginning. And then Elara held a press conference. She stood in front of the vault, sunlight casting long shadows behind her. No threats. No blame. Just one sentence. "If truth disrupts your unity, then perhaps you were never unified." Across the stars, riots broke out. In some sectors, statues fell. In others, ancient alliances shattered overnight. Earth had pulled no trigger. They'd simply handed out history, and let it speak. And yet, the accusations came fast. You planned this. You weaponized our past. You're destabilizing galactic order. Elara never flinched. We're historians, she said with a polite smile. You invited us. Meanwhile, back at the embassy, the human biologist planted her last tree. A strange, dark-leaved thing from Earth's old tundras. She hummed as she worked. A Calarxy ambassador passed by. You people don't even flinch when accused. Accusations aren't facts, she replied. They're usually confessions in disguise. What's this tree called? She patted the soil. Wolfwood. It thrives in the cold and poisons anything that tries to eat it. That night, a secret meeting was called in the Tavari Defense Complex. 12 species. No names. No records. Just purpose. This cannot continue. They're unraveling everything. We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance. But someone had already seen this coming. Because as the aliens plotted, drones circled above, silent, invisible Terran, recording everything. When the footage leaked, 3 days later, the galaxy didn't riot. It paused. And then it laughed. Not at the plot, but at how predictably desperate the so-called dominant species had become. The final blow came from the last place anyone expected. The Terran delegation submitted a request for a new council vote. They wanted Earth recognized, not as a protectorate, not as an observer, but as a founding species of the Second Assembly. New charter. New balance. New leadership. Councillor Run laughed out loud in session. This is absurd. You cannot rewrite galactic law just because you showed up late. Elara leaned forward, voice honeyed and sharp. Oh, we didn't show up late. You just started early. The vote was close. Too close. And the ones who voted yes? Not out of loyalty, but out of fear. Out of all. Out of exhaustion. In less than a month, humans hadn't just entered the room. They'd rearranged the furniture. And painted the walls. Late that night, Admiral Thane stood alone on his balcony. The stars above shimmered like questions with no answers. Elara joined him, carrying 2 mugs. Hot chocolate? She offered. He didn't take it. You knew this would happen. I suspected, she said. Planning is just guessing with better timing. They hate you. She sipped calmly. They feared us before they met us. Now they understand why. He turned. What's your endgame? She looked out at the stars. Survival. On our terms. With dignity. Without permission. And if they resist? She finally looked at him. Then we stop smiling.